Welcome to the NitWits, a weekly roundtable discussion on the Penn State Nittany Lions, now in its 22nd season. Our panel features a longtime Penn State media and NitWits tag team, Neil Rudell of the Altoona Mirror and Mark Brennan of Lions 247 with Fight on State. The NitWits are hosted by WTAJ Sports Director Peter Terpstra, and each week we welcome a former Nittany Lion as our special guest analyst. The NitWits are brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. By Coldwell Banker Town & Country Real Estate, Blair County's home-a-day realtor. By Courtesy Motor Sales of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By Encompass Health, a higher level of care. Encompass Healthcare. Ask for us by name. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, carpet cleaning, and rug cleaning. By Reed and Solani Orthodontics, providing friendly, family-focused orthodontic care in Altoona, Bedford, and Huntington. By Allegheny Street Cigar, Allegheny Street Cigar, Blair County's only cigar lounge. By McAleer's Plumbing, specializing in plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, serving our community since 1886. By Freedom RV, get ready to tailgate this Penn State football season with Freedom RV Rentals. By Jethro's, serving ribs, steaks, Italian specialties, and the famous Prospector salad since 1983. Takeouts, delivery, and catering. By Lucky's Beer Distributor. Let Lucky's Beer get you ready for PSU game day. By Remax Results Realty Group, committed to a culture of professionalism, productivity, and exceptional service. By Dorman's Jewelry, the answer is always Dorman's. Fullington Trailways, offering round-trip transportation to and from Beaver Stadium from a variety of locations in State College and hotels in the Altoona area. Gio's Barbecue, award-winning hickory smoked ribs, chicken, and much more. By Star Beverage. No matter what type of weather, we are a convenient drive-through one-stop beer store. By Lions 247 with Fight on State, your online home for Penn State football and recruiting coverage. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Sunday.
Welcome to Nittany Nation Overtime.
Hey, hi, hello, welcome to Nittany Nation Overtime. I am joined by the Nitwits, as always. We got Neil, we got Mark, and we got our special guest, former Penn State defensive end Justin Kirpakis. Thank you for coming on the show. How you doing?
Good, thanks for having me again. Yeah. Always look forward to talking a little football, so thanks for having me.
Especially a guy from Pittsburgh Central Catholic.
Ooh, that's right.
Right after,
this is the perfect week.
Perfect guest. It was.
Right after Penn State edges Pitt 17-10. And what I thought was it was a competitive game. It was a good game, but you didn't see as much offensive fireworks as you would thought, or as you'd think you'd see.
I thought it was a really kind of a fitting end to a glorious 100-game series. I mean, this was a rock'em sock'em game, old school, won by defense and special teams by Penn State. Been a lot of one-touchdown, one-score games in this series, and I think for Penn State to end it on its terms as they did just was, hey, we all have thoughts on the series and, the present, the future that isn't, but we have great thoughts on the past. But this is a nice way to cap it for Penn State.
Yeah, I thought that we can and we probably will be critical of some things on both sides with both teams. But the one thing Justin and I were talking about a little bit on the ride down to our taping, Penn State, boy, did that team tackle well generally and hit well. And I got to thinking, Pitt, they came and played really hard. This was Pennsylvania tough football, the kind of stuff that you kind of grew up with, Justin. So even though the scoring wasn't what a lot of Penn State fans probably would have liked or probably what Penn State ought to have done, it was fun to see that element of it. I'm sure, Justin, for a Western PA guy, that element had to be great.
Agreed. I was thrilled that it was competitive. I mean, as a Penn State person, you would have liked the score to be a lot higher, but in the end, when you guys referenced to the end of the series, I think that the fact that it was competitive and it was physical like that, I love it. I mean, I have so many memories from growing up, being at Pitt Stadium in the 80s when Penn State beat Pitt to go to the Orange Bowl, and they were throwing oranges on. Vivid memories as a young person. And then, unfortunately, my senior year was the last time we had the series, and we lost 12-0 in Three Rivers, which was one of only 2 games in my life where I didn't care if I ever played football for a couple hours after the games. It broke my heart so bad. The other was losing to North Catholic my junior year in high school. And so, love the series, love that it ended competitively, and have hope that it's going to come back at some point.
Pitt gets down to the 1-yard line, and it ends up being a pretty excellent defensive stand for Penn State. But you also got to question how everything unfolded. What do you think went in on both sides there, Mark?
Well, listen, the job that Penn State did against the run was remarkable. I mean, that is, and this is a decent running team. This isn't a bad running team. And Penn State basically forced Pitt to not even attempt to run the ball in some key situations. Having said that, when you get first and goal at the 1, if you can't give it to your running back to get it into the end zone to score, you don't deserve to win. And if you don't attempt to go for it on 4th and 1, I don't think you deserve to win. I think that was almost the football gods looking down and saying, this isn't the way this game should be played, and that's why it doinked off of the left upright.
Yeah, I don't know what Pat Narduzzi was doing. I think there have been some times in this series where it's just gotten a little too big for him. Last year he lost his composure, got a flag thrown on the sideline, and the game really got away from them. Here, when they had a chance to really have a legacy moment for him, I really wondered with 5 minutes to go if they scored, whether they might go for 2 right then. Because, you're playing to win at that moment. So I didn't understand that. But I agree with you, and I thought Cam Brown was tremendous in that goal line stand. Had a great game overall, but he had 2 quarterback hurries on that series. And then Garrett Taylor to come up and stick Pickett. And Pickett kind of had a head of steam on 2nd down. I thought those were really big plays.
I just don't get why the running back didn't get the ball. I mean, they must have just been.
Well, how about they have a 280-pound fullback named Wheeler, okay?
Yeah.
And the last of the Penn State games, it's been a knockdown, drag-out fight. The only way for that to happen is to have a run play and either a Penn State linebacker smash them on the goal line or they get the touchdown. And so you're right, the football gods were upset, and that's why it happened.
Or a quarterback sneak.
Yeah.
And if you've made the commitment with a winner or a leader like Pickett, but if you've made the commitment to go for it 4 times, now you've taken away. No, they only had about 20 yards, 24 yards rushing in 25 cracks from the tailback position. So I can kind of get that, but hey, you got to be able to make a yard if you want to win.
I think one thing you have to give that Pickett a lot of credit. I mean, that kid did not show that in the first couple of games, and he played with a lot of heart and determination. I think there were some things with Penn State that we could be critical about, but I think this is one element where you do have to give the other guy some credit.
All right, coming up next on Nittany Nation Overtime, you thought this team would have a world-beating pass rush. So far this season, that might not be the case. We'll nitpick next.
The Nitwits are brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. By Coldwell Banker Town & Country Real Estate, Blair County's home-a-day realtor. By Courtesy Motor Sales of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By Encompass Health, a higher level of care. Encompass Healthcare. Ask for us by name. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, carpet cleaning, and rug cleaning. By Reed and Solani Orthodontics, providing friendly, family-focused orthodontic care in Altoona, Bedford, and Huntington.
You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
Welcome back to the show. Pitt threw the ball, 50-plus times?
51.
Right, which, characteristically you would think Pitt would be more of a run-heavy team. But with that being said, it didn't seem like Penn State was able to get after the quarterback as much as you would like to see.
Well, they only sacked him 3 times. They had 17 passing first downs, which it's pretty amazing. This is it looks to me like a bend but don't break type of defense, because they've really, you look at that and you look at the time of possession that they're allowing, but then you say, hey, they've allowed 2 touchdowns all year, and they haven't allowed a touchdown in 6 quarters. So they are doing something right. They're subbing a lot, but they don't think they've really pressured like you thought maybe they would.
Yeah, one quick point, and then I have a question for Justin. But I was surprised if you looked at some of the more detailed stats online that Pitt was 4 of 9 on third downs of 9 yards or longer. I hope that doesn't sound too complicated, but that's ridiculous.
Yep.
You cannot allow that. And then they were 4 of 4 on fourth down, including a 4th and 11 or 12, whatever it is. Even if you shut a team down, don't let them in the end zone in the second half. That isn't enough. But Justin, the question I have for you is, when you're able to dominate a team's running game so much, shouldn't that ultimately allow you to be able to get to the quarterback because they became so one-dimensional?
So that's what you think, that you force them to be one-dimensional. And the thing is, though, that this Pickett kid had a game like he hadn't did before. So you said earlier about sometimes we've got to give credit where credit is due. And the thing is, he was on point, and they were timing passes. So I think that what we have is phenomenal athletes on the defensive line. Mm-hmm. These guys are going to be dominating. Coach Spencer is an awesome coach. They're going to be flying. I think what you found is that kid was on. He was timing routes, and as a defensive lineman, I can tell you that's extremely frustrating whenever you feel like you get a good rush and the ball's out. And I think that's what happened yesterday is that kid was on, he was making the right reads, putting it where it needed to be, and unfortunately, even when we were backing them up, 4th and 9, you got to win that, or 3rd and 9, you've got to win that as a defense. And it
real
just
quick,
didn't happen.
Who was the most frustrating guy from that regard that you ever faced?
100% Drew Brees. When Drew Brees was at Purdue, it was all quick timing. I'm not calling Pickett Brees at this point, and they do a lot of things too where they linemen would cut you, but all day long it was maddening, and I saw a little bit of that, so I can understand probably the D-line's frustration.
I thought the receiver, Mack.
Hippenhammer.
No,
The other receiver. Oh, yeah.
From Pitt, the transfer from Indiana, was tremendous. I mean, 12 catches and some real high-point things at the sideline to keep Pitt in the game.
On the other side of the ball, it seems like Penn State is still running all 4 of those running backs. It doesn't look like you have maybe a clear starter, but all 4 of those guys had their moments on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it over and over again that they're going to be fine at running back, and I think ultimately they'll settle on 1 or 2 guys. But to me, the biggest thing with this offense and the entire team is the offensive line, just the inconsistent play. This is a Pitt team that was missing out with at least one of its best defensive linemen, if not 2. And to not be able to run the ball consistently against that unit, this offensive line has gotten a lot of excuses over the year. This is when this group has to start to come together now that Big Ten play is here and start being a consistent force.
I thought they got better in the third quarter when Kane was there. They were able to run the ball. They had a good long drive. But early in the game, I agree. I mean, you had a sack fumble that you were fortunate that Mennett fell on. Clifford took some pretty big hits early. Pitt set the tone in that game because of Penn State's offensive line.
I have to say, even though you weren't able to run the ball consistently like that, you did see some of those backs make some big plays in the passing game. I don't know if that's
that was a
Penn
nice
State would
play
win.
to Slade.
Right.
That was a big 3rd down that they did. I'll be curious how this all pans out with trying to play 4 tailbacks. Maybe because of the red shirt rule, they will make a decision. But I think that's contributing to maybe not being able to have a consistent running game, and plus the fact that they don't have the ball that much on offense.
Yeah, I think these guys are all playing. I don't think they're redshirting them now because at this point, it wouldn't make sense to me. I know they can still play 1 more game in redshirt, but then what if somebody gets hurt? I think you just keep playing and hope that one guy kind of rises to the top. The one issue with Slade, obviously, is he had what could have been a key fumble against Buffalo. But the positive for Penn State now is that they're in a position where if somebody struggles, you don't have to necessarily stay with that guy. Now you have the option of good players behind them that you can. Punish isn't the right word, but hey, now you fumbled, you're coming out of the game, and not maybe starting the next game.
And to have that type of depth is a good thing. This is where we talk about accumulation of talent for some of the Ohio States and Alabamas are. Mm-hmm. That's what that is.
Yeah, I don't know. You talk about a feel, though, these great running backs get. I don't think it's a real tragedy for a kid to redshirt. John Carter redshirt. Right?
That's not my point. I mean, obviously, it wouldn't be a tragedy if they redshirt, but I think this far into the season, I don't think it's going to happen. Yeah, Kajana Carter, Mike Archie, Pitts, Milne, and Whitman all redshirted from that team.
All right, coming up next, it was the end to a rivalry. For now, take a look back. Next.
The NitWits are being brought to you by Allegheny Street Cigar. Allegheny Street Cigar, Blair County's only cigar lounge. By McAleer's Plumbing, specializing in plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, serving our community since 1886. By Freedom RV. Get ready to tailgate this Penn State football season with Freedom RV Rentals. By Jethro's, serving ribs, steaks, Italian specialties, and the famous Prospector salad since 1983. Takeouts, delivery, and catering. By Lucky's Beer Distributor. Let Lucky's Beer get you ready for PSU game day. By Remax Results Realty Group. Committed to a culture of professionalism, productivity, and exceptional service.
You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
Welcome back to Nittany Nation Overtime. We are here with the NitWits. This is a rivalry that stretches back a long time, kind of disrupted from 2000 to 2016. But what does this rivalry kind of mean to the folks in Pennsylvania, you think?
I'll start that out
Yeah.
because I'm from
Absolutely, yeah.
Pittsburgh, Western PA. I went to Central Catholic High School on Fifth Avenue at the shadow of the Cathedral of Learning. I'm very well versed in what this means, and I'm just heartbroken that it's going to end. So you can't manufacture a rivalry, okay? You saw the coach from Maryland or Rutgers try to do it with us. When I was in school here, they tried to make it with Michigan State, the land grant trophy. Michigan State would rather be Michigan's second tier rival than ours. And the feeling was mutual. And so you have to have two or three things: bad feelings, geography, and tradition or history.
Yeah.
Okay? Notre Dame and USC.
And this series has had all three.
We have all three.
Yeah.
You just can't manufacture one, and this one had all the great things that about a college football rivalry, and then on top of it, just because I'm biased, it was basically Western PA. And it was the battle for it. So I'm heartbroken about it, but still hopeful something will get done at some point.
Well, I mean, we could do a whole show. We've
Yeah.
done segments of this topic for many years, and I agree completely with you, Justin. These teams went their separate ways, but you also see West Virginia and Pitt don't play anymore, Nebraska and Oklahoma, Arkansas and Texas. It's the way of college football. I think it's real unfortunate. I always go back to what Troy Benson, I'm sure you know Troy, they were having a big tailgate at Pitt players in 16, and he said, we invited any of the Penn State players that we knew. Anybody was welcome to come. He said when Pitt guys would go into the NFL, the first people they would be looking for was the Penn State and the Notre Dame guys because they could identify with them. To
Healthy
me,
respect.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one thing I would say on the other side of the argument, because I'm not going to change my
I'm
opinion on
glad
it.
you didn't contaminate him on the way down.
No, listen, I completely respect that because I know where he's from. And I also know the era that you're from. You're young enough to still have somebody who you played against still playing in the NFL and Drew Brees. But as James Franklin has mentioned, you ask today's players, they have never really experienced what you knew growing up, what we watched, in the 70s and 80s, and people who watched before that who are older than us. So I think that part of it kind of disappeared. And obviously, listen, you can talk about it all you want, but as long as the Big Ten has that 9-game schedule, they're never going to be able to have the same opponent every year. They just aren't.
I don't think you could put the blame at the foot of Penn State or Pitt. Like you said, there's other things that factor into it. It's just a shame. And my idea has always been the players on their own. After Thanksgiving, we'll meet in Blairsville. Everyone can show up.
And you'd still play.
And we'll figure it out that way then.
Mansion Park, they got a better
Mansion
stadium
Park.
than Blairsville.
I did like that it was a competitive game. It was a really hard-fought game down at the very end, and it seemed fitting, as you guys said. And there was a lot of chipping back and forth. I mean, this meant a lot to the team, the guys that were playing too. You could tell.
Well, yeah, I mean, but I will say this, that I was down there in the whole handshaking thing, doing my Brennan cam afterward, and the level of respect between those guys after the game, even though that had to be a difficult way for Pitt to lose, you didn't see any bad talking then. The stuff during the game is fine. You know, you don't worry about that. That's part of the fun of it. But after the game, the handshakes, the hugs, a lot of these guys played football together, whether it's been in Pennsylvania or Maryland or wherever. You know, you can see the level of respect, and I appreciated that.
And I think if both teams play the way they did, as hard as they did, you know, they're going to have some good moments, a lot of them this season. I think, especially Pitt. We'll see where they go from here, but they played hard.
It took how many years? 15, 16 years to
16
to get it back on the schedule.
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, I just can't believe that these two teams are not going to play again. I don't think anybody really believes that. But if there's long gaps like that,
well, year number 38 of the Nitwits. We'll be happy to welcome Justin back.
Be able to get in the door.
I love it. I love it. Oh man! All right, coming up next, we hit a number of things heading into the bye week now for Penn State, and we'll welcome back a special guest next.
The Nitwits are being brought to you by Dorman's Jewelry. The answer is always Dorman's. Fullington Trailways, offering round-trip transportation to and from Beaver Stadium from a variety of locations in State College and hotels in the Altoona area. Gio's Barbecue, award-winning hickory smoked ribs, chicken, and much more. By Star Beverage. No matter what type of weather, we are a convenient drive-through one-stop beer store. By Lions 247 with Fight on State, your online home for Penn State football and recruiting coverage. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Sunday.
You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
All right, welcome back to the show. This is something that I'm sure a lot of folks going to the game have experienced, kind of the change of the parking plan around Beaver Stadium. We wanted to hit on that. How long did it take you to get to the stadium, Neil? What do you think?
It took 2 hours and 40 minutes from Altoona. It took not even 40 minutes to get from Altoona to Otto's at the base of Atherton.
Yep.
It said 15 minutes, and that became an hour and 45 minutes to the Nittany Lion Inn. I have never seen anything like this so poorly organized in State College. Why this new plan would run you through the business district of Atherton Street with 7 or 8 lights, it was unthinkable. You had thousands of people that were stranded on Atherton. You had people eating wings at the wheel of their car because they were beached that long. I think it's a definite crisis. They have 3 weeks to figure it out before you got another noon start. Fortunately, we have Sandy coming in here. I did speak to her briefly after the game, and she acknowledged they're getting a lot of feedback, and they have work to do. They know that. So hopefully they're going to be able to do that.
Well, I think the positive, though, is that it gave you a lot of time to reach out to your 2,700 Twitter followers.
Whatever.
During the, it was a tweet storm. Listen, I went to one of the town halls on a serious note when they were talking about doing this, and when they mentioned using Atherton Street as one of the main points of entry for people on that side of the stadium, I'm like, are these people nuts? I live in State College. Justin, you live on that side of town. There have been signs up saying avoid Atherton Street at all costs during the middle of the week when students aren't around. So how did they expect that was going to be anything but a nightmare once these football games came? So that's, Neil, that's the one thing. In your defense, I will say that Atherton Street is a nightmare, but
the whole thing is, and really sometimes you can overthink it. What needs to happen is it's just totally scrapped. Go back to the way it's always been until you can figure out another plan. I know they don't want cars up in that big intersection outside the stadium. Well, let's put a little bridge going over those or something like that. Scrap this whole thing. Go back to the way it was, and then figure something out.
You know, the thing is, we've been on the road to many of these places. Penn State's always done the best job of anybody in traffic control. That's what there was not there wasn't something to fix.
I'm fortunate that I ended up missing it somehow. I knew how to run my route.
Well, you turn the lights on at the stadium. Not everybody can.
Yeah,
Seriously.
no, I get that, and it's fair. But no, clearly, I mean, Sandy will be on, and she's going to address that with us, and she's never backed away from it. But again, in all seriousness, by the time the next home game comes around, they have to have this thing
and it's a noon start.
Yeah, figured out.
Hey, real quick, I do want to have a shout out to Jordan Stout.
Yes.
A 57-yard field goal breaks Chris Barr's record that stood for 44 years.
All right. Hey, he's been awesome, by the way, and you've mentioned it over and over how good he was going to be. You called it. That was our show today. After Penn State took down Pitt, we got a bye week, and as you mentioned, we have athletic director Sandy Barber coming on, and that's going to do it for Nittany Nation Overtime. We'll see you later.
The Nitwits are brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. By Coldwell Banker Town & Country Real Estate, Blair County's home-a-day realtor. By Courtesy Motor Sales of Altoona, where courtesy means a great deal. By Encompass Health, a higher level of care. Encompass Healthcare. Ask for us by name. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, carpet cleaning, and rug cleaning. By Reed and Salaney Orthodontics, providing friendly, family-focused orthodontic care in Altoona, Bedford, and Huntington. By Allegheny Street Cigar, Allegheny Street Cigar, Blair County's only cigar lounge. By McAleer's Plumbing, specializing in plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, serving our community since 1886. By Freedom RV, get ready to tailgate this Penn State football season with Freedom RV Rentals. By Jethro's, serving ribs, steaks, Italian specialties, and the famous Prospector salad since 1983. Takeouts, delivery, and catering. By Lucky's Beer Distributor. Let Lucky's Beer get you ready for PSU game day. By Remax Results Realty Group, committed to a culture of professionalism, productivity, and exceptional service. By Dorman's Jewelry, the answer is always Dorman's. Fullington Trailways, offering round-trip transportation to and from Beaver Stadium from a variety of locations in State College and hotels in the Altoona area. Gio's Barbecue, award-winning hickory smoked ribs, chicken, and much more. By Star Beverage. No matter what type of weather, we are a convenient drive-through one-stop beer store. By Lions 247 with Fight on State, your online home for Penn State football and recruiting coverage. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Sunday. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.